I'm sort of trying to get my feet underneath me and get started on a concept that I've been working on for a little bit now. Uh, so
Tell me
uh,
about it.
it is a board game cafe, is the concept. So the goal is to be sort of a full service cafe and to have a library of games that 300 to 400 games that guests can come in, select a game if they want to play, sit down at a table, get a coffee, have cocktails, beer menu, so drinks while they sit, small bites and shareables, with a sort of curated selection of some entrees for people that want to do, sort of full service dinner.
Mhm.
Um, and then mixing that in with a little retail store where you can buy games, game accessories, merchandise, and mixing some e-commerce with that for sort of revenue streams. The functionality and the goal of it is to run events, and to be focused on sort of daily events for your regulars, to keep them going and build that stable, but then monthly and or uh, possibly like a really big event quarterly, if not more often than that, just try to draw from outside the radius of the small town that I'm in.
Yeah, you
So
could do like tournament style, like bigger events. Where are
yeah,
you located?
Mattoon, Illinois, which is central Illinois, 45 minutes south of Champaign, Urbana, where the U of I is. So we're kind of like smack center in the triangle of St. Louis, Indianapolis, and Chicago, about 2.5 to 3 hours away from each, 2 hours from Indy. Um, and so there's the board game cafe concept exists, but it's not really in the smaller locales so much.
Mhm.
Um, and beyond like the tournaments of sort of the hardcore gamers, trying to also grab on to that board game adjacent events, having like a big Harry Potter themed event, bringing in some vendors, bringing in, costume contest and some other stuff, and just trying to hook those people that have that sort of niche focus, Star Wars, all that stuff. Uh, so
I think it's cool. I think going niche is always a good idea. It kind of separates yourself from everybody else, which is we obviously did that at the meatball shop, kind of focusing on single item thing.
yeah,
The challenge I see with that is, similar to that exists in like a bowling alley or a pool hall or a ping pong facility, right? Which is with board games, the understanding is that people are going to sit for longer than they normally
right.
would if they were just having a meal. So, in order to make that business profitable, you're probably going to need a larger venue than you would have probably initially thought you needed, right? Does that make sense?
It
So
does.
if you only had 10 or 20 tables in there, once you're full, and unless those people are continuously ordering food and drinks, you're limiting your capacity to one turn or maybe two turns in any given day part, at the most. But you could easily sit down and play a game for 2 hours. uh,
Absolutely.
so I think that, that's why kind of pool halls, I'm not talking about a bar that has a pool table. I'm talking about like a pool hall, right? Or a
Hmm.
ping pong like spin, or like those social clubs. What is that? Why am I blanking on the name of that big one? I think they're not in business anymore. But that's why those places are huge. That's why those places have like 30 or 40 pool tables. They generally have other games also to occupy people's time while they're not able to get a pool table. And, they also have limits on how much time you can spend at the table. So you have to think through all of that as well. I mean, are you limiting people's time at a table? Um, and, is your space big enough to accommodate, I guess, two things. Number one, you need table size that's big enough to accommodate the
Hmm.
game and drinks and food, right? Which is already taking up a large footprint in the space. And then you need a lot of tables in order to make money. right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna make money if you have, 8 tables in a restaurant and people sit for 2 hours playing games. You're just going to be hosting. It's like hosting them in your living room.
Yep. So what I've found is that in this, so Mattoon is 18,000. There's a sister town, Charleston, that's 15 minutes apart. And that's 22,000. Charleston hosts EIU, Eastern Illinois University, 11,000 students and growing right now. But so small area, small demographic, but there's a 1950s bowling alley that has had the lanes, the equipment for the lanes taken out of it. They still have some of the lanes down. They took some of the lanes up and turned them into high top tables and the bar top. And so if for the last 15 years or so, it's been run as a wedding venue, and the owners are looking to sell. So it's
Yeah, well,
8,000 square
that's a
feet.
great. Yeah, that sounds like a great type of space, right? And
Yeah.
maybe even keep the couple of bowling lanes that are there.
Uh,
Finding different additional revenue streams. Um,
well, the
you
lanes
just
are
want to,
defunct. So
well,
they're,
maybe fix them up.
yeah,
Maybe,
it's a
but
good
maybe
point.
you only need 2 lanes. You don't need 6 or 8 or 12. Just
Sure.
two. People have bowling alleys in their house. Not any of us, but some people do. They have like just 1 or 2 lanes.
Yeah.
I think it's
Plus,
just an added opportunity.
yeah, I think people when I think board games, a lot of board games, there's losers, right? So like when you get kicked out of the game or when you're no longer involved in the game, like what are you gonna do? Sit and watch like you might be able to get away and like throw a couple balls down a lane,
Sure.
to like
Yeah, or shoot pool, or go watch a game on TV. I mean, I don't. I think it has to be you. In my mind, you're creating you're doing what Starbucks did, which is like trying to create the third space, right? Trying to create a place that people can go when they want to get out of the house, but they also don't want to like fucking get dressed up and have to like impress anyone. They're just going with their friends to like have a fun night out. That's why people go to pool halls or ping pong places or bowling alleys. It's just a fun thing to do for a couple of hours on a night when you don't want to do something too crazy. But yeah, to Eric's point, you got to have a couple of other areas of revenue and things to do, because yeah, to his point, if someone's out of the game, they're out of the game. What are they going to do? Or if a game goes on for a long time, I mean, there's games that it could be 3-hour games, and then you're not going to turn that table.
Or up. It's very feasible to have a group of 6 people, maybe 8 people, that come in to sit down and play like one of the more intense long-term games, and they're gonna come in at like 10 a.m. and set up camp for the entire day and take up like a 6-top or 8-top table.
Yeah, which is awesome for brand like loyalty,
Yeah.
right? But it's terrible for money.
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge Mazroor, who joined the conversation. He is here and his mic is muted. There he is. I just want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Not to interrupt what you guys are talking about. It's great
Sure.
stuff, but I just want to make sure we bring him to the conversation.
Yeah, Masroor Fatani, own and operate.
Oh no.
Based in New York. I operate in Houston, and starting with a new concept out of College Station, Texas, called Lane's Chicken Fingers. That's in development right now. So I'm excited.
Dude, I gotta introduce you to somebody. In the network, when you get a chance, I want you to reach out to Will Reynolds. And he just started a mozzarella stick ghost kitchen.
Nice.
Talk about low overhead, like, and he's having great success. And I know you're a franchise guy, Mazur, so there might be some opportunity there for you.
For sure.
Yeah, make sure you guys connect.
Cool.
What's that?
Lane's Chicken, is that what you said?
Yeah, Lane's Chicken Fingers. It's you may have heard of Raising Canes. They're kind of like the big dog in the chicken finger space. So Lane's started in '94. They were kind of before Canes kind of took off, so they just on.
Kind of cutting out. I don't know if that's my internet or Eric. Is he cutting out for you too?
He is. I think Mazur, your
Probably
services. Yeah. And we didn't
We're
hear
getting
the
internet.
What's that?
We're getting new internet soon. So for right now.
You also mentioned you're a part of a franchise. We didn't catch the name of it. I know it's Halala Guys, right? Oh, bummer.
Yeah, hello guys.
Yeah. So 2 franchises, Halal Guys and the Lane's Chicken.
Oh, I mean, I know Halal Guys very well. I don't. Yeah, great brand.
Yeah, they're in New York.
Yeah. So did I derail your train of thought in your conversation with the previous what you guys were talking about? If I did, I apologize.
No, Wes. What other? What? I mean, it sounds like a cool concept, but you got a little bit of stuff to think through. But it sounds like this old bowling alley is at least a start in size and scope, right? But it's also not going to be cheap to build that.
Yeah. So that's where I'm trying to sort of figure out our back end. And I've got a big problem in that my experience isn't in the restaurant industry. My experience is manufacturing and sales. And then my wife's my partner in it. But she's an engineer by trade. And is currently working with Mars Pet Care as sort of their supply excellence, like continuous improvement manager. And she's not going to step away from that. She's going to keep doing that. But so it gives some like systems and that sort of Kaizen mentality coming into the place, which helps, but it don't have the experience with running and managing a kitchen and that portion of it, which is a big.
Did you steal that word from Eric? He loves Kaizen. That's like
no, he does love Kaizen, but it is near and dear to her heart. She's a black belt in Kaizen. Okay. So
did I use that in our interview,
Adam? You use it all the time. That's like your thing.
Yeah. What you mean to tell me you listen to my show? Wow, I'm flattered. Right?
You've been dropping Kaizen in most episodes recently,
but all I mean,
I go through phases.
But Wes agreed. He said it is a word of yours. You do like that word.
I do like Kaizen. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I'll hear it someplace and then like it'll trigger like my memory. Then like it stays surface for a while before it like falls back down.
Now you're gonna use it again because you just heard it. Wes, so are you gonna run day-to-day operations or you're just gonna be owner?
No, the plan's for me to get involved in day-to-day operations.
All right.
So I've got my my chops cut out for me.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a change of pace for sure. What are you thinking for hours? Are you going to be like open early so people can pony up and get started, or are you more late night? Is it going to be like a date spots / friends meeting for drinks, like open late?
So currently really looking, I'm kind of broad set on it where it's like a 9 to 10 sort of hours. There is not, so Starbucks is here, but and there's a couple cafes that are local, but they don't have a large footprint. They have like 4 tables, so there's not really a cafe that anybody can come and sit. So when I'm looking at sort of our interior designing, like, yes, we're a board game cafe. Yes, it's a place to come and play games, but the goal is to focus on new people, not necessarily the hardcore existing people, and to create that open and inviting, community spot. So some of the thought is that we're the cafe, we're the place that you can still come and sit, and to grab that portion of the community that doesn't really have that location right now, unless it's, a 6-top table, then there's only 3 6-tops in a small cafe.
Are people paying for the games, for the use of the games?
Not currently. Not on startup, not for the first 3 months. So I think it's going to be a new concept for the area that I'm in. And so I want to minimize my barriers to entry for people given the area. If I was in Chicago, we would start with table fees. Because I think that it's a little bit more accepted and would maybe lean harder into the hardcore demographic of people that play games more.
Yeah, I think you want to, I think that's something you want to be a little careful of, Wes, because, it's going to be hard to shift from
free to not free.
Well, yeah, free to not free. I mean, it's different to shift from, $10 to $20 as opposed to free to not free, right? So I think that your initial plan needs to have some basis of cost associated with it, whether that's a game rental fee or an hourly table fee or or a minimum. Even a minimum is a way to do it, right? Just have a minimum spend at the table. That can be accomplished through food and drink, through game, through whatever, but they have to spend. What you're going to have is again, just like they have in the pool halls, you're going to have riffraff that are just going to sit there. They're going to drink water. They're not going to order. They already ate 3 hours ago with you, but they're still sitting there 3 hours later, not ordering anything else. So I think it's a good idea. Have you run some numbers? Have you put together a financial model and a pro forma?
I've put together some initial financial models. I haven't just building out some of the different revenue streams that we're looking at and factoring some of the figures. But this is again where my weakness in the restaurant industry and experience, sort of figuring how do I get that, per ticket, and customers that are coming in and sort of modeling like the demand initially, and then as we expand. I don't have experience with starting a restaurant, so like getting those bases for those models has been a little challenging. On my to-do list is to sit down with or get some information from sort of the local Chamber of Commerce on what averages are for sort of the existing people, but I don't have those numbers right now.
Yeah, your local SBA can help with a lot of that stuff too, as well. So make sure you check them out.
Yeah. So
I want to throw a little time out here. I love what's happening. I'm communicating with Mazroor in the background. He's got a hard stop at 12:30.
Oh, great.
His time, 1:30. He does have a question around branding. I just want to make sure we give him a little bit of a window, and then and if you guys want to pick up your train of thought after. Sorry to interrupt.
No. I didn't. I'm here for anybody.
Yeah, Mazroor, go for it, brother.
Yeah, just kind of wanted to know, I saw you guys have expanded into multiple units. Can you just comment on challenges and anything that you encountered in growing from, one to however many units you have today? Key hires, just things that, if you could go back and change, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so it's always hard to kind of maintain brand consistency when you scale, especially if you go outside of your home market, right? But the most important piece of that is to, really proper training and development, right? So spend the time, a lot of times in this business, in the food and restaurant business, you're rushed to hire more often than not. And so you're just getting people and you want to teach them the menu and get them on the floor as quickly as possible. And that's like the worst thing to do. And it's the easiest thing to do. And it's most of the time what everybody ends up doing. But at the end of the day, it's really the worst thing to do. You're much better off flexing the team that you have for a few extra weeks to suffer, maybe a 6-day, maybe a 12-hour day for, a few weeks to get your new hire up to speed and really well adjusted and ready to get on the floor. But if you don't have proper training and development, everything else stems from that. With regards to, another piece of that is culture, right? You want to try to maintain the brand culture and the ethos as you grow and expand. And in order to do that, it's almost like you got to create a little bit of a cult-like following with your business. You have to have really loyal brand ambassadors that are also your employees. They have to believe the mission statement. They have to believe what you stand for. And they have to feel like they're part of this journey together. And once you have that, then making the key hires are the most important things. You want to make sure you don't hire too soon for a role that you don't need yet, but you also want to make sure that you don't wait too long and put the burden on the rest of your team to pick up that slack, because that's really going to demotivate them, and it kind of is the antithesis of what the culture is going to look like. And then Masroor, you asked another question. I hope that answers your question with regard to that. I mean, we can spend probably an hour on that stuff also, but what does our org chart look like today? So obviously COVID changed a substantial amount of the org charts within restaurants in general, specifically in New York. But we left our key, we left for the most part a lot of our key hires on board. The org chart consists of myself, who's partner and CEO. So kind of the overall vision, strategy, growth direction, branding, marketing, everything falls under me. I have a VP of strategy and business ops. That person is a key hire because they handle all of the logistics and back end things about running a business and running a company, running a restaurant. So third-party delivery platforms. We're in the CPG space with our tomato sauce in stores. This person handles that piece of it. They do financial modeling with me. They oversee our accounting firm. They're not our CFO. I mean, I act as the CFO. We don't have a CFO, but this person will manage this. This person also VP of strategy and business ops, runs all finance, basically oversees our day-to-day finance, accounts payable, receivables, bank reconciliations, just managing our accounting firm with doing that. I have a VP of ops who runs the restaurants. And then I outsource photography and a little bit of social. So I do a lot of social media, but we outsource a lot of the photography and the general content creation. We outsource to a photographer and content creators, and then I'll do the postings and stuff like that. Pre-COVID, we also had an events person that did all of our events, whether corporate or in-house, special events, things like that, and all of our caterings, off-site, off-premise caterings. And we also had a head of marketing pre-COVID, who we parted ways with when the pandemic hit, who kind of oversaw, I would say on a junior level, but really was the keeper of the brand and from a marketing and PR standpoint. Again, all funneling under me. I mean, we're a small enough company. We have 5 restaurants. We shift all the time. I mean, we opened 2 different pop-ups in 2019. We just opened a ghost kitchen in Boise, Idaho, which seems random, but it's a pretty cool market. And that's a license deal, so that there's really no org chart there. And then underneath that, I don't like to use the word corporate, but funny enough, we're the meatball shop, so we make ball jokes occasionally, but the main office we call TJS, which stands for the jockstrap, because we support the balls and we support the ballers. So under TJS, Eric, I don't think we got into that in our talk, but yeah,
I love it, man.
I know. So our management, our corporate office is called TJS, and under TJS are the unit level managers. So we have in a normal world, we have a general manager and a chef, and a sous chef or a number 2 shift supervisor, kitchen supervisor, and then generally 1 or 2 front of house managers, depending on the size of the restaurant. And yeah,
I gotta try to figure out a way to incorporate a sexual organ into whatever business I develop in the future, so I can have fun with.
You can do it. You can do it. I mean, you can do it now.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, you're welcome, Masroor. Appreciate the time coming.
Thank you, Masroor.
You can do it now into Restaurant Unstoppable. It can be something like stop, no, don't stop.
I played around with the idea of pockets because my passion is calzones, but I feel like there's an opportunity to just do pockets from around the world, right? But pocket, that could be a sexual innuendo. It's close enough.
Not really.
Okay, bringing it back to professional conversations. Thank you for getting into that. right. Wes, can you maintain your train of thought? And I should give Adam you a window here. I did say a minimum of 30 minutes. So if that's all you have for us today, we understand.
I got until about 5 minutes to 2.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so going back to what you were talking about on the table fees, what I've been considering and when I've been doing my modeling is a $5, game rental fee that gets waived after you exceed like a $15 minimum ticket. And
I know it's
understand.
hard to hear that, but $5. I mean, you're then talking about a table, essentially paying you $5. But if they hit a $15 minimum, then they're fine. But $15 to take your table for 2 hours is you're never going to make it. I'm just being honest. I like to be
Sure.
honest, but
No, this is great. This is great.
it's not but it's not, Wes. It's important to know that that's not a knock on the business idea, right?
Yeah.
I like the idea of this communal gathering place for gamers. I mean, listen, gaming in general is a huge industry right now. Esports also. I mean, there's an opportunity to do some version of esports gaming in that place too. Maybe you have a bunch of Xbox and PlayStations and consoles. I mean,
Projectors, tournaments.
and show, like, get some famous gamers that are in the area to come by and play live on the big screen. And
Write that down.
No, it there's some consideration there. My concern is, given the locale that I'm in, that coming in higher than that is that I'm just not going to have the basis.
What does Starbucks charge for a coffee?
Right at $5. Yeah.
But they purposely don't have a lot of tables in there because $5 doesn't let me take up that table for so long, right? I mean, they don't care because they're looking at volume and rings per hour, right? That's what they care about. They care about velocity and movement and how many people they're getting through the cash register every hour. That's what Starbucks looks at.
Sure.
So the tables are there as an amenity for, if there's a table available, take it. But from going into any Starbucks, like, they don't care who sits there and how long they sit there. That's like a second thought for them. They don't, I mean, you can have someone sitting in a table in Starbucks for 9 hours. The team at Starbucks, they don't say anything to that person.
Right.
Because they don't care about the tables. But you need to care about your tables, because that's where your bread and butter is, right? Whether it's dining, food, snacks, drinks, or games, your tables are that's your diamond, right? That's the key. If you were just saying, I'm just using this as an example, but if you were like, you had a space that was the size of a soccer field in your backyard and you set up a shit ton of picnic tables and you were like, here, rent a game. It's $5 to rent a game. Go play as long as you want out back where I have, 400 tables. No problem. But you don't have that. And the weather gets cold there. So you have only indoors. So your space becomes a very prime commodity. And when you look at tables, every table has a value. So like in the meatball shop, I look at a chair. What's the cost of it? What's the price or the value of a chair, right? At the meatball shop, the value of a chair is about $80,000 a year. And so you have to look at what a value of a seat is in your business, because butts in seats are what spends money, is how you're going to make a living. If you want to have, the other option, again, here's another option, right, Wes, which now that we're talking about it, I'm thinking more about it. What if it's a membership club, right?
Yep.
Membership only. So people pay a membership fee, and then you also have food and beverage, and then those become ancillary, secondary revenue streams, game purchases. You have games available to play, but they also can buy it if they really like that game. They can buy it and bring it home. I get that, but the flip side of that is there's a membership fee to be a member of that club, right? And then when they're a member, then they don't need to pay. Then they don't need to pay for a game. Then you don't care how long they're sitting at the table, right? Because it's a members only club. But then what you need to do is you need to build your financial model that says, okay, how many members do I need on a monthly basis to sustain my cost of operating? And then think of it as food and beverage as an ancillary additional revenue stream. Or like Soho House or country clubs, they use the food and beverage piece as a requirement to their members, right? So they have an X fee for the memberships, but then they'll say you have to spend a minimum of, I'm just making this up, but you have to spend a minimum of $1,000 in food and beverage in the year.
Yeah.
right? And so if they come once a week, they're going to have no problem reaching that $1,000 at the end of a year in food and beverage cost, and they're the member of a private club. That's another angle to look at it at. But if you're just looking at it as, this third place for people to, play games and have food and drinks, I think you're going to be in a challenging situation to make the financial model work.
Yeah. So in our membership clubs is on my radar. It's something that we would be doing, whether it's a mug club, or you have like a beer club where you get like a personalized mug or something to when you come in, you can use that, or something that they just take home that's got the branding on it. It's part of their sign up for their fee.
That stuff's all good, but that's all secondary. I'm talking about a straight up membership fee to your club, right? Eric charges a membership fee to the Restaurant Unstoppable Network, right? All the gems that you get here, my time, everybody's time, all the podcasts, everything that Eric does, that's not his revenue driver, right? His revenue driver is either sponsorships or members joining the network, right? And the more people in the network, the better the revenue is, the more gems you get, the more opportunity for peer mentoring, for panels, for seminars, whatever Eric wants to do. But that's what started out as a hobby for Eric, right? Just learning more about the business turned into a business. But I'm sure, Eric, you can speak to this, but you're looking at it as, I want to try to grow the network, right?
Yeah. For me, it's because it's so niche. The mentality is, instead of like, I'm never going to get 10,000 listeners an episode. Maybe I could, but my target market is restaurant owners and operators who listen to podcasts. So if
what's your highest listened to one?
4,500.
That's good.
So that is good, but I average 3,000, which is still really good, especially for a very targeted audience. But I'm never gonna get to the point where I can invest. My vision is to be able to invest in the network and to collaborate with people in the network and to start my own restaurants and have the podcast and the network to be what funds my restaurants. But I also want to go into business with people that I'm meeting in the network, because I realize that I'm not going to be able to do it by myself. So it's kind of like I'm like stacking everything on top of each other.
Yeah.
But I know that I won't be able to get to the place. Like I'm much more likely to get 1,000 people that pay me $30 a month than I am to get, 100,000 people to pay me, or 30,000 people to pay me $1 a month. So.
Yeah, but it's all value. It's all value for market, right? So what is your target market? How many do you think you can get? And then price accordingly to that to make your business model work. Mm-hmm. But so, you have to, all the mug clubs and the beer clubs, Wes, are good ideas, but you either have to charge more you either have to charge table fees, game fees, or you do a member club fee, right? Which is it's like joining it used to be, even Blockbuster back in the day, you used to pay $5 a year for a Blockbuster card. And Costco is a membership. Those people are target audience. They are willing to pay a membership fee to Costco or BJ's or Sam's Club. They're paying a fee yearly to have the ability to shop there.
I hear what you're saying. I may have diluted my message by saying mug club and talking about that, because it would be a monthly membership.
I think you need to look at it as a yes and that's something you can do to add value to your membership and also make them feel special. I got me a mug. So the question is what do your members get that everybody else doesn't get, right? So you can create that level of this is special. I think mug club is yes and that's one thing you could do in addition to. What are your thoughts, Adam?
Yeah, I agree. It is a fully a yes and, but that's the model of your business, Wes, should be yes and, right? Because it's not enough. One thing in that business model is not enough to have a full functioning business that's going to generate enough revenue for you.
No,
one of those pieces are not enough, but all of them, games and food and drinks and membership and beer club, beer club and mug of the month, t-shirts,
T-minus 12 minutes, FYI, or 11 minutes now, FYI. Just so.
Yeah.
time.
That's sort of where a lot of the basis is, and it makes me nervous sometimes that I'm like getting into going in too many different directions. But when you talk about like the events and the membership sort of the top, and you have those trickle downs where you have the mug club, like we have a spot that would be set aside for like a retail section. Is there a benefit that being a part of a member can give you towards to where people feel like there's value in the membership, which allows us to charge like a higher price for the membership. Um, and having the table fees for those that aren't members, but if you join and become a member, that table fee is waived or lessened or something. So the membership's definitely a portion of revenue that I think is necessary for the model, because there's a lot of board game cafes that closed during COVID because it's a social event. They didn't have the ability to sort of pivot out of their niche.
Yeah, but if they could have, they could have very easily pivoted to online gaming, right? That's just another avenue. What do you think, Eric?
So, I mean, there's just one thing that I want to bring into the conversation, but I also don't want to cut this short. One of the things I've identified with Wes specifically is that he brings his passion is the gaming, is the community, are those people. He has zero restaurant experience, and I see a situation where he could get trapped in the business doing the things that he has to do, like managing a kitchen and staff, where I think what his unique selling proposition is his passion for gaming and the events that he can throw with his network. So one of the things I was wondering, I want to get your feedback on this, or coaching, if he did some type of collaboration, or what your thoughts on where he can, what's your advice for him to remove himself from the day-to-day operation so he can work on his business? And I think really where his value is going to be is generating community around gaming and pulling in people from his network to show up to these events.
Yeah, if that's the case, is that true, Wes? Generally speaking, is Eric right?
I think that Eric has a lot of truth there. I don't know how to get there though. So I'm saying that I'm doing the operations because who else am I going to have do the operations?
Yeah, but restaurants, so restaurants, a lot of restaurants in this country are looking for things to do. I mean, they do trivia night, they do this night. I mean, you could create a whole business where you have this traveling roadshow of putting on these incredible gaming events where you go from restaurant to restaurant. And even, I mean, theoretically, if you grow it big enough, you're traveling around the country throwing these incredible, whether, I don't know, what's your favorite game? What game do you like that you're playing right now?
Now I'm put on the spot.
Anyone. I mean, I'm just using it for an example, but like, I didn't want to use like Scrabble, but like,
sure,
Trivia Pursuit, right? Yeah, or Cards Against Humanity or something. You could be like the traveling game fucking master, where like in a restaurant's looking for like something to do on Monday nights. The restaurant's not that busy. Similar to a promoter, there's a door fee or a fee that the restaurant pays you for hosting this, and you're pushing it out to your network on all your social channels, and you're getting the people in the door. The restaurant's psyched because they're busy and people are ordering food and ordering drinks, and you're hosting this incredible game night. And so that network then wants to reach out to you to say, where's the next game night? And before you know it, you're hosting, you got multiple people in different cities. I'm getting way ahead of it, but you have multiple cities in running this franchise business of hosting these game nights at local restaurants around their city. If that's your area of expertise, is really about the community, I'd be nervous getting into the restaurant business. It's not easy, man. It's very hard, and it's exhausting, and it's frustrating, and the reason I bring up these cost things is because money is a big cash flow, and money is a big problem in restaurants. The margins are very low. You don't make a lot of money when you're done with food cost, liquor cost, beer cost, labor, occupancy. You're left with very little, pennies on the dollar in some cases. And so, in order to make it work, you got to be either packed with a line out the door every day, or you got to work in some pricing models that's going to, you know, give you the lift that you need to hit some target numbers. But I like the idea of you know, to Eric's point, being the community and the passion for the gaming, you know, bringing that to restaurants. And you can start small with that too. You can just find a local restaurant in town that wants to host a game night,
Yeah.
and do, you know, you got to sell it to them. And, you know, you could do that, but you got to tell them, listen, I can bring you 50 people in the door on Monday night. We're going to do a big Trivia Pursuit night, and you're going to be the host or the MC. You're going to have a microphone or whatever. I mean, it's going to be different for every game, right?
Yeah.
But
I've thrown the idea at Wes of collaborating with a local restaurateur and just renting out the space, the kitchen space, and providing a venue. So that way he can just wipe his hands of like the food operations side of things, have a channel of revenue with renting out the space to somebody, and then focus solely on the community and the branding of the space and the events.
yeah, that's another great option too. I even think more we talk about it, is like, don't even worry about the food and beverage or any of that. Just run the games and charge, you know, I mean, you could charge $1,000 to a venue for hosting a game night. I mean, they're going to generate $5,000 in sales. I'm just, again, making up numbers. They're going to generate $5,000 in sales and incremental revenue on a Monday night that they wouldn't have had before. They'll pay you $1,000. You host, you know, 12 games a week at different places around town. I mean, that's a big business potentially.
Yeah.
And then all you have to do is worry about the games and worry about the community, building a community on social, building the Facebook groups, asking people what games they want to see, you know, what games they want to play, and then really get the branding out around that. And then, you know, you're the game guy. And so, you know, you could even do it for personal parties, right? You could like be the host of a game. Like, I mean, it's all over TV now. Ellen's Game of Games and Hollywood Game Night. Like, they even have TV shows about games. You could do private parties in people's houses where they get 20 people together and they bring you in because you're the fucking game master, and you like lead a great game, and you know how to keep the flow of the game moving. And, you know, you could have a lot of fun with that. Fucking dress up in a referee shirt with a whistle and be like, illegal move.
Oh yeah. No, I hear you. There's a lot of ways to run with it. So
yeah, I think you got a lot of work ahead of you. But listen, you could reach out to me anytime. I got to try to wind down a little bit because I got to go in a few minutes.
Sure.
But we could talk about this for a long time. But you could reach out to me anytime. And, you know, if I can offer some advice, or you just have a question that you want to bounce off me, no problem. I mean, my email address, Eric, do you have my email address on the network or no?
You're in the network.
Okay.
So
I'm probably under there under Red Salt Hospitality, right? That's what I put it under, I think.
I can look it up.
Yeah, just check. So yeah, Wes, I'm happy to help with like gems and questions, and if you have that stuff. And then if you want to deep dive, like, I don't really like selling myself. That's not why I do this for Eric. But like, my company, that's what we do basically, is help businesses either start or rebrand. You know, I own a hospitality management company in addition to doing the Meatball Shop, which when I talked with Eric on the network, we talked mostly about Meatball Shop and me, you know, how I got my start. But, you know, I own a hospitality management company, development company. You know, that's what we do. We basically develop concepts, build them from the ground up, or go in and, you know, retool an existing concept to kind of help them either restructure, reorganize, or rethink what they want to do. So
I will throw this out there. Adam, I'd love to have you come back and do a workshop, like a deep dive conversation into how to do one thing specifically well that you specialize in. And yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. You're always welcome.
Yeah, whatever you need. You know, I'm down to help you, Eric. I think this is fun. This stuff's fun. I've always loved mentoring and helping people. That's what I get. You know, it's kind of why I'm in the restaurant business. I like taking care of people. This
was a really valuable, action-packed conversation. If it's okay with you, I might repurpose this as a bonus episode. So it's adam@redsalthospitality.com.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use this as a bonus episode. I know that you are hosting your own clubhouses right now, so I want to give you an opportunity to pitch that before we say goodbye.
Okay, yeah. If you're on Clubhouse, or if you're not, try to get on it. But yeah, every week, Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern time, I host with a buddy of mine who is a founder and owner of another restaurant concept here in New York. We
Thomas
host
Kelly.
Thomas Kelly from Mexico. We
Past
host a
guest.
weekly hospitality behind the scenes room and clubhouse where we, just deep dive into what topics people want to talk about. And we really just give people a peek behind the curtain about what it takes to own and operate a restaurant. So
Thank you so much, Adam. This was great. I know Wes found value. He's probably his mind's
his mind's blown and he's more he's more confused now. But
No.
Wes, one thing that's the most important, like we gave you a lot of shit today, but the one thing that you have to take out of this is it's a good idea. You just got to flush out some of the details. But there is definitely an opportunity for gaming, drink, food idea that exists. That's why bowling alleys are successful, pool halls, like people like that stuff, like carnivals, like people like games, they like drinking, they like food. So don't think because we gave you so many, I gave you so many things to retool and think a different way that it's not a good idea. It's a good idea. Just got to think through it.
You're 100% there. So what I see is that, we have a USP that's good, but the USP itself doesn't hold water on its own. It has to have additional layers. A board game cafe just on its own doesn't run. You have to have that layer of membership. You have to have that layer of some other financial models, because at the end of the day, people playing board games for 6 hours at one table, getting drinks every now and again, isn't a great business model.
No.
And I recognize that. So I really appreciate all of the sort of pointers that you're putting out there and sort of validating that, like, yeah, I do need to get creative. And then the details of how that all shakes out at the end is what I'm working towards. So I appreciate
Get it down on paper, Wes.
Mhm.
Get a business plan, even in an outline draft form. That's where you got to start working on the outline and working on that. And then you go from there.
Awesome.
All right,
Thank you so much, Adam.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.